What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Stay Waiting YouTube channel. I'm joined by my man Ray. How you doing?
Doing all right, thank you, yourself.
All good, all good. Today we're deviating a bit. You know that we've transitioned over to a bit of UFC action as well, and we've got a big fight this weekend. Henry Cejudo is back, the champ, the king out, my 5'4" king, as I always like to say. He's back and he's fighting Aljamain Sterling. Triple C is facing Aljamain Sterling for the UFC Bantamweight title at UFC 288. And I want to get your views straight onto this. I'm going to label this bit ring rust. We had John Jones come back and basically dominate and win the world title. Henry Cejudo, is ring rust going to be a factor going into this fight?
I don't think it should be, only because from what I've seen and heard from the training clips is that he's always kept himself training regardless. And he's also been in the fight camps of other fighters as well, which has been good. So at least the mind is sharp. There's a lot of top level caliber guys that have gone to him and he has helped them achieve great things as well. So mentally he's sharp. The only thing that's against him is age. And that's not in the sense of just being older, but father time, what effect it has on his body. So he could be as sharp physically as he wants, but if your body's just aging, then it is what it is. But mentally, I know he's there. Physically, we'll find out.
I was just going to say that you see Cejudo always around fighters, always in camps, giving his point of view. So whilst I understand a lot of people do have a thing, because he's not been in the game for it'll be approximately 3 years coming up to it, that this is going to be an issue. But I do think it's not going to be too much of a problem. The only thing that always gets me is he's going down, it's 135. This is not like it's not a weight to continuously walk around. This is a lot to potentially drain off. So is that going to be an issue at his age? With Aljamain Sterling going into this fight, it might just be me, but I find him a little bit overrated. His last three fights,
guy,
Peter Yan, the knee that he was the disqualification, and I think in that fight he was losing.
Yeah,
split decision against Yan, and then Dillashaw with a broken shoulder, I believe it was, with his shoulder collarbone.
Dislocated shoulder.
Dislocated shoulder. Is he a little bit overrated as the champ?
No. We are not. The Aljamain disrespect stops now, and I hope. The funny thing is, he's screwed either way, because if he loses, people want to call him overrated. If he wins, then they're going to be, oh, you only beat a Henry Cejudo that was coming off of how many years off. For me, Aljamain, do you know what's funny? Because first he's overrated, now, but when he was coming to his title shot, look at someone like Corey Sandhagen, who's basically beaten up everyone that's not held a title, and he choked him out in a minute and a half. And it weren't a thing of you was scrapping it was back and forth. No, he stuck it on him first minute, bang, got on his back, choked him out. So how is this guy I think it became cool to, insult him because of obviously how he fought in the first fight against Peter Yan and then the knee, which for me, he done the right thing. All these weird people that were expecting him to fight on after taking the knee as a down opponent are stupid.
Nah, I was going to say, when I remember the knee, and I was like, he's just messed up the fight for himself. That's it, the fight's done.
I said, man, if you don't stay on the bloody ground, I said, don't get up, stay on the ground. Is it catch-22? Because in that moment, if you act like you're fine, then people want to criticize and be like, oh, if you're fine, why don't you just get up? And at the same time, if you overdo it on selling you being hurt, then people are going to be like, oh, you're overselling it. But I like what Joe Rogan says. In those situations, ref shouldn't give the fighter the choice. It's like, no, you've just taken a concussive blow. You're not fighting no more. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be a choice. That should be you done that. If at that moment, the person gets knocked down, even for 10 seconds, that's a DQ. I'm sorry, it is. And then the second fight between them, it was just people didn't want to give Aljamain credit for whatever reason. And it's just he dominated Yan, at least in the first 3 rounds anyway. And then the second round, the last 2, he gave away, because he even said in an interview with Joe Rogan, yeah, I just coasted it because I knew I won the first 3, which I wouldn't, recommend to do because these judges are wayward. But is like the way people. Have you seen Jan's slide now? Yeah, it started with Aljamain.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, don't get me wrong. I always look at Peter Yan. I'm like, he's never recovered. There's certain fights that you just don't recover from, or what's
Yeah.
happened after, and he's not recovered. So I get
I
that point.
don't. I think people need to give Jan slack because it's like the Mali. It's like this is what I mean about fickle fight fans. Just like a year ago, this guy was a destroyer, and what because he lost to Aljamain, who put in a very excellent second fight. And I remember watching the first fight of Aljamain, and I was even picking him to beat Jan. Then I put money on him to beat Jan. And then I remember watching that fight, and even DC was saying it's like Aljamain was fine with nervous energy. Like it's almost like he had imposter syndrome in the octagon. Like you're bigger than him, stand your ground, or impose your will. You're a bigger person, but it was almost like mentally Jan had beaten him. I don't even think Jan has beaten him. Aljamain had beaten himself. Where I feel like the second fight, Aljamain kind of realized that, yo, I believe in myself. I'm meant to be here. Similar to Leon Edwards in the first Usman fight, where obviously you can put that down to altitude as well. But you saw the difference in his character in the second fight. Leon just went out there like, no, I'm the champion. And I feel like Aljamain now has that as well, where it's just like, I'm the champion. I'm not going to go in there, nervous because I can be the guy. And I feel like he has the tools to beat Cejudo.
I was gonna say, I think it's Teddy Atlas that normally alludes to it. When you're the champ, you got that 30% extra type of confidence. So breaking down this particular, you talked about how when Sterling beat Corey, he got him to the ground and stuff. Now he's facing a wrestler himself, and Henry's takedown defense is solid to say the least. Are we expecting this fight to be more standing up, or how do you expect this fight to particularly pan out?
Aljamain's stand-up is very unorthodox, and I feel like it's a weird one because he needs to be scared the day someone does figure it out. Because then I don't think his striking, he doesn't seem to have a plan B, but his plan A seems to work for him. It's unorthodox. It's not something you would recommend. His striking anyway is not something that you would get other fighters that to mold their striking style after Aljamain. But for him, in that weight division, he makes it work. So it'll be interesting to see if Henry comes up with a game plan that can neutralize that. As for the ground attack, is MMA, it's not wrestling. So I know Henry's all like, oh, as Olympic gold medalist, this, that, and the third, but this is MMA. You're gonna go in there, and then, especially for someone like Aljamain, everyone thought that Peter Yan was the guy that's gonna be able to like for any of his like grappling attack, and Aljamain showed him like, yo, there's levels, and I think he even got a 10-8 round. You could argue. I remember, I think the second fight, I think it might have been the third round when they took him down, and then you can see him. He's got back control, and he just looked at his corner, started smiling because he was just like, we got him. So it will be interesting to see, can Henry stop that? Because this is similar to Habib, where it's just like, just because you know what I'm going to do, can you stop me?
Yeah. I was going to say for Cejudo then, going into this, he's got the 3-year layoff.
Mm-hmm.
What does he have to do to... The funny thing is, it's not upset because I was just looking at the lines and they're both evenly matched in this particular fight. So what does Cejudo have to do to get the win here? If he gets the win, does he even carry on? Or what would you say was Cejudo's plan would be?
If Cejudo was to win, so I think Cejudo's going to go in there, neutralize his grappling, and then look to just ground and pound him throughout the whole fight. I don't think he may not look to advance his positioning more than side control. Or sorry, half guard, and just stay there, ground and pound him, and then see if we can get the TKO finish from there. And then striking wise, I think he will neutralize him, and then I feel like Cejudo is gonna, just to prove a point, want to take down and grapple with Aljamain just to say, I'll beat you where your strength is at. But if whoever wins out of either of these two, they're gonna want to do two things. One, Sean O'Malley, they're gonna look at as food anyway, so they're gonna be like, cool, they won that title shot against Sean O'Malley. Commercially that should do well, so both of them are gonna try to get that fight. And after that, you're going to go for champ status. Or if you're If you're in Henry's position, you're not even. I was about to call him triple champ status, but technically it's quadruple champ status. So Triple C will look to become quadruple C and go face Volkanovski, which I feel like will be a good fight.
I think that'd be a little bit step too far personally, myself.
I'm here for it, man. I'm
here for it as well. I'm here for it, but I think it might be a step too far.
The thing is, Aljamain is a big
135
bantamweight. Because even that's why I think Aljamain, I feel like if he beats Sean O'Malley, I feel like he'll let go of the belt and then he'll go up to face Volkanovski. And I would actually like that. Because at that point, I think there'll be no one else for Volk has got Yair Rodriguez next. And after that, there's no more contenders unless they do a full fight with Max Holloway since Arnold Allen lost. So the way I see it is Aljamain get this win over Henry Cejudo, fight Sean O'Malley end of the year, and then next year face Volkanovski. Hopefully the UFC gives them an instant title match. I know they might be like, Aljamain may not be the biggest commercially to want for him to go for the champ. But for me, if someone goes for champ status, I feel like I know it's unfair to some of the division, but F it. If the circumstances are right, let him face the champion straight away.
So I'll go with you before we go on to, I just want to touch on the core main quickly.
Yeah.
But what's your prediction for this fight?
It hurts me because Triple C is my guy, but Aljamain, I was rooting for him from the first title shot, so I'm still on aboard the Aljamain train, so pause. But yeah, so I think that's where I'm going with Aljamain Sterling.
I'm gonna take Henry Cejudo. Like we said it in the chat. I can't bet a guy against a guy that I've also backed for the longest against another guy.
I'm a fan of Triple C. A lot of people don't like the cringe. I'm here for it. Sometimes it's a bit too.
Sometimes it's a bit, but yeah, I get you. But I do want to just quickly touch on the core main event, and that's because we got Gilbert Burns back in action, literally just fighting off Masvidal, fighting Belal Muhammad. Unfortunately, it looks like Dana's making people work for that welterweight title shot because he's already got his man set up for it. So I guess quickly before we wrap up, just the winner out of these two basically go ahead and fight the winner out of where it looks like Colby versus Leon.
Absolutely. There's nowhere else they can go from here. I'm not trying to hear that rubbish about Shakov, Rakhmonov. He can wait and beat another person. I don't know who else is there. The only other
he could face the loser out of this basically and just wake you up in that sense.
Yeah, it's either that or because above him is these two are tied up. Hamzat for some reason still in the top 5 always. Get him out of the rankings and let him just face Paulo Costa at middleweight. And then Usman is the only one left for Shavkat Rakhmonov. So I don't know if they'll do that to Usman, make him face him before. But you never know. But I digress. Belal versus Gilbert is a very good matchup. I'm a bit annoyed because I feel like I'd rather them to have a proper training camp leading into this, and the fact that it's 5 rounds. I feel like on such a quick turnaround, I wouldn't recommend it. But they're the fighters, so go in there.
I was literally just gonna say, is this a bit of a risk too much for Burns? Just with the quick turnaround.
I think there's a risk for both of them because people forget. Not only was Belal not in training camp, Belal was, doing Ramadan. So he's been fasting. So I don't know how, hard he's been training. Because I think people don't realize the difference between normal training and training camp. Like, yeah, you can be training all year, but that's just more to sharpen your technique. Training camp is when you probably build up on the gas tank. And with Gilbert, at least he's just coming off a training camp. So it's almost like I'm sure he's not let his fitness level drop down as much. Whereas Belal, I also see for him, I probably see it as he sees this as an opportunity of if I get this win, or both of them, if I get this win, I'm undeniable.
Yeah.
So
I hear that. I was literally just gonna say, whoever wins this, I can't see how Dana puts any more obstacles in anybody's way for that. But that the only thing I can see is if Leon loses to Colby, you got the rematch potentially. But again, that's a bridge we have to cross when it does eventually happen.
Leon beating that guy anyway. I don't know if he's gonna beat.
I don't know. I think I can't lie. Like Colby is an animal.
Man, get Colby the F out of here, man.
You can't lie, you know. Listen, I like Colby. I'm on that Colby hype.
It's a Leon W. I'm putting money on that.
Do you know what? I hear it because you were one of the few also that was calling him to win in the first fight against Kamaru Usman.
I said that guy from Brum. I said he's got that dog in him, and Colby's gonna find out as well.
But with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode of the STAYWEIGHEDIN Podcast. As always, you know what to do. Drop a like, share, subscribe, comment your views on Triple C, as we're calling him, and Aljamain Sterling, and then also Burns versus Muhammad. And also check our latest video out about Canelo versus John Ryder as well. But as always, we appreciate you for coming on. Love and peace, guys.
Stay weighed in.